Hello friends, I'm Rishayan. A lot of people have been asking me to start making videos in English of some of my adventures over the years in Mexico. And okay, I'm gonna make a video in English. You know, I usually don't make a lot of videos in English simply because I don't have a following. And the videos get very few views, those that I make in English, and make very little money, you know, because they skip, you know. And so it's not too much of a motivation, but I have some good followers that keep asking me to make videos in English. So okay, I'm gonna make a video in English. We'll see how it goes. First, let me just I'm using a good camera, a Canon, but it doesn't have any way of telling me, and it's an expensive camera, it costs like $300-400, but it doesn't have any way of telling me if it's actually recording. So just like let me before I get off in this long spiel, because this might be a long video, make sure that this thing is recording. Okay, yes, it does look like it is recording. Okay, when I lived in Tijuana, it was a long time ago. We're talking about back in the early to mid 80s. And at the time I was living in San Diego, California. And those that have been following in Spanish anyways, I don't know if I've made any in English, but those that have been following me in Spanish know that I was born in Tijuana, but I was raised in the United States. My father was an Italian American, and I was raised in the northeastern part of the United States. So I guess I was I don't know how old I was. I'm getting too old to strain my brain to figure out dates, but in the early 80s, however old I was, I guess I was in my mid 20s, late 20s, I don't remember. I wanted to know the country of my birth, and I always had a curiosity about Mexico, and I wanted to know. And so living in San Diego, an excellent opportunity came about when the job that I was working for an air conditioning and refrigeration company as a parts runner, and they went under. They had to declare bankruptcy and lots of different reasons. The people that run it were my friends. They were excellent people, very good people. I enjoyed very much working for them, but they overextended themselves, I guess is what we could say, and you know, their creditors started demanding payment, and one thing led to another. And anyways, they went under. So I was on unemployment. I was able to get unemployment for like 6 months. I think I got unemployment. That gave me the chance to live in Tijuana. Mexico, even to this day, is 1/2 to 1/3 the price of living, the cost of living in Mexico compared to the United States. I mean, it was just much less expensive. Particularly, we're speaking about the cost of housing, which is today, it's just totally absurd. Totally absurd. I mean, it was absurd back in the 80s, but it wasn't as bad. I even rented hotel rooms. I remember they were like $20 a night, $15 a night in the 80s. I could find cheap hotel rooms sometimes to stay, and the rent wasn't that bad, you know. But today, it's just, there is no more cheap rent. It's just horribly expensive and whatever, you know. So Mexico continues to be a less expensive place, although it's getting expensive in Mexico too, but nowhere near at the rate that it is in the United States. And back then it was relatively inexpensive. So I rented a place. I first went and started renting a place. I think I paid $25 a month, I'm sorry, if I can remember correctly, $25 a month for a one-room little shack in the hills of Tijuana. Those that know Tijuana know that it's sort of all the colonias, all the neighborhoods are up in the hills, and but it was okay. It was okay. I liked it. I actually liked the little room that I had, and I shared it with a friend. He had his room, I had my room, and it was okay, and for an inexpensive price. One thing I didn't like is that the landlord, when he told me the price, it was okay, $25 a month. I could afford it on my unemployment, but later my friend, who was paying in pesos, you know, the rate, he was paying like $10 to $15 a month. I said, wait, what? You're paying $10 to $15 a month, and the guy's charging me $25 a month, you know? And when I confronted him about it, he gave this very stupid answer that unfortunately way too many people would tell me over the years, and that is, oh, well, you're making more money, so we charge you more rent. You know, man, you know, I'm making more money. I was getting unemployment in dollars, and not that much. I can't even remember how much it was, but it wasn't much, and so I had to pay more. All right, I wasn't going to argue for that, $10 a month, you know, but so that was the case. Anyways, I lived a life of how can I say? I was in my youth, you know, I was still in my youth, and I was enjoying my youth. I went a lot to the clubs. I liked to dance, and I had a lot of friends, and you know, was enjoying my learning of Spanish, because really that's the main thing that occurred in that 6 months. My knowledge of the Spanish language went from very little to being just about basically fluent in Spanish after about 6 months of running around with, there were some rough characters, you know. I mean, I was certainly not with the middle class or even the lower middle class. I was with common folk, common young people, and I learned the common everyday language, which is actually the best language to learn. I mean, how the common people speak, you know, because they speak a dialect that's different than how can I say, the Queen's Spanish, you know, the Queen's Spanish, you know, or Castellano, the you know, Spain Spanish. And but that was important, to be able to communicate and to be able to understand. Everything was sort of slang. Mexicans speak a lot of slang, and the good thing is I was learning all that slang. In fact, I learned the slang before I learned the correct way, which later on in my life that didn't really get me into problems. But when I would talk to people, some people would say, oh, you speak good Spanish, but it's trashy Spanish, you know, it's street Spanish. I said, well, that's what I learned. That's what I learned in Tijuana, you know, to speak the common Spanish that 90% of the people understand, although your upper class and middle class people don't really like it, you know. They speak better, you know. But anyways, so that's what I did, and I hung out. I had a friend. I made a friend, a young man by the name of Ariel, and I started hanging out with this guy. He was like in his late teens, and he was cool, you know, and he was a very intimate friend of mine, Ariel. And we started going to the clubs. There was a club, a bar called Bar Taurino, which is like, excuse me, I think it sort of translates into the Bullfighters Club, the Bullfighters Bar, you know, something of that nature. And it was open. I remember at that time, it was the only bar that I knew in the whole world that was open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, they never closed. They never closed. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that bar never closed. And they were very liberal, you might say, in that they, you know, during the night, they let drunks or anybody sleep in the bar. You know, they just put their head down and sleep on the street, and they didn't really wake them up, you know. And they also were liberal with quote-unquote minors. Supposedly, I heard the rumor that they paid off the police to leave them alone, but they let young guys go in there too. That I think the drinking age at that time was 18. I don't even know what it is today. I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank in many years, but at that time I think it was 18. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that in California at that time it was 21. And so we got a large crowd from San Diego, from Los Angeles, and you know, but it was 18. But there was guys in there as young as, I would say, as young as 15 and 16, without a doubt. And they served them. It was a cool place, and so we'd go to the Bar Taurino first and drink, you know, and meet all my friends and have a good time and listen to music and whatever. Then later on, we go to the Avenida Revolucion, Revolution Avenue. Those of you who live in Southern California who have gone to Tijuana or go to Tijuana know about Avenida Revolucion, Revolution Avenue, because it's the tourist area, and it's where there's all these nightclubs, right? All these nightclubs and drinking places and tourist-related stuff. And it's sort of the safe area of downtown at night, because the Tijuana police are very much known the world over as being the rottenest, most criminally corrupt police in the world, and they certainly were back in the early 80s. And they will extort money out of you for any reason, for breathing, for walking in the daytime, for anything. They will extort money off you. But they sort of left foreigners alone on Revolution Avenue. That was sort of like a safe zone at night, you know. In the daytime, it wasn't too bad. In daytime, you know, I didn't have any problem really in the daytime too much in Tijuana. But at night is when, you know, the sopolotes, you know, the hawks, you know, they come down on you, the vultures. And anyways, you know, so we would go then to the, I think it was called Los X Palace, the X Palace, which was, they had transvestite shows, which is very big in Mexico. Show transvesti, they call it. And they were very good. They would sing and, you know, put women's clothes on, and they usually were very young guys in their teenagers, late teens, and they would put women's clothes on and dance and sing, and did very good shows. Some were more elaborate than others and whatever, and so we enjoyed that. And they were nice, comfortable, and safe, you might say, places to have a good time, you know, to go and spend the night. So what we would do, but they were expensive. They were expensive. They charged 3 times for a rum and coke, or you know, whatever, a margarita, whatever you wanted to drink. It was like 3 times the cost of in a regular bar in Tijuana at that time. So what we would do is, me and my little group, you know, is we'd go to the Bar Taurino, which was, you know, in the Zona Norte, which is the red light district of Tijuana at that time. I really don't know. I haven't been to Tijuana like in 20 or 25 years, so I don't have any idea what it's like today. But at that time, it was like the red light area, and we'd go there first, and we'd drink cheap liquor and cheap beer, and until we were not really drunk, but that we were feeling good. You know, I mean, we drink and drink until, okay, we're ready to go to the club now. And then as a group, because Tijuana, you know, the club didn't open till like 11 o'clock at night, 10 or 11 they opened up in Los X Palace, you know. And so we would be in the Bar Taurino until about that time, till like 10 o'clock at night, and then we'd have to walk. It was maybe, I don't know, 8 or 10 blocks, wasn't more than that. We just had to walk like 8 or 10 blocks to get from Bar Taurino to the Los X Palace. But in Tijuana at night, those 8 or 10 blocks can be very dangerous, not really because of criminals or delinquents, but because of the police. Because the police in Tijuana, they are the criminals and delinquents. And for whatever reason, if they see you walking alone especially, they will attack you. You know, just for walking, you know, to try and look for some reason, some way to extort money out of you. That's their job. That's their job in Tijuana. As it was later explained to me, a friend of mine who became a Tijuana policeman, he really, you know, cleared it up as to how the police operate. But so what we do is we go in a group, because they were afraid of groups. You know, there was never more than 2 policemen in the patrol car. We would go in a group of 6 or 7, you know, 6 or 7 guys, and we would migrate then from Bar Taurino to the X Palace, all bunched together in a group of 6 or 7. And so the police would think twice about trying to stop us, because of course we would scatter and run in every direction, because, you know, we aren't doing nothing wrong, we're just walking. But they, you know, they're criminals. The police in Tijuana, I think to this day, the way I understand, they're still criminal thugs. They are criminal thugs. They're not decent people. They're not people upholding the law. They're criminals that have badges, and that's very dangerous. But anyways, so in the X Palace, where we'd get there, and then we'd order like 1 drink just to get in, just to get a seat, and then, you know, we'd be sipping on that drink for like an hour or 2, you know, because it was just expensive, and enjoying the show. And I don't know, I think the Los X Palace, I think it was also open 24 hours. I don't remember when it closed, because I was there sometimes to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and they were still open. But anyways, Ariel was my principal friend, and but he was quite a different person. As I got to know, he was a very loyal friend, a very good friend. But when he was a little bit addicted to alcohol, and when he drank, he would become effeminate, you know, quite effeminate sometimes, which he really wasn't in his normal life. In fact, he had a wife and a kid, according to him, back in the state of Sonora, where he came from. You know, Tijuana is made up mostly of Mexicans from all the rest of Mexico, and now Central Americans and Haitians and everybody else. But at that time, it was mostly Mexicans from the whole Mexican Republic. It was hard to find somebody that was a native Tijuana resident, born and raised, you know, I mean, that it was from that their family was from Tijuana. They come from other places. But anyways, I use the story of one time we were in the 2 clubs. Well, let's start with X Palace, because an incident occurred in X Palace. And then I'm going to tell you about another club where another incident happened with Ariel. One time we were in Nequis and we were a group of us. There was like, again, about six of us sitting at the table, and I was, of course, financing the drinks, not for all six, I don't believe. I can't remember clearly. I highly doubt that would have been a little expensive, but at least for Ariel. And but he had already gotten, I guess because of already being drinking from Bar Taurino, and then by the time he get there, he was feeling a little too good. And he started hugging on me, man. You know, I mean, he liked me. He liked me because I was good to him. He liked me. You know, Mexicans are very friendly people. Very, what's the word I'm looking for in English? Cariñoso. Very cariñoso. Very, how do you say that in English? Very warm people. Very, they have a lot of, how do you say cariño? I forget. Damn. Affectionate. They're very affectionate people, you know, as a race. All Latinos are. All Hispanos are. Hispanic people are. You know, and so if you do something to them, they're really appreciative, you know. But he went like overboard, right? And so I'm sitting there, and he was sitting next to me, and he like starts hugging on me, man. I mean, really hugging on me, like he was my girlfriend, you know. I mean, hugging on me. And I would tell him, I said, man, you are embarrassing me. This is a public place, you know. I mean, be cool. Just be cool, dude. Just be cool. 2 times, not once, twice. The meseros, or the, what do you call them, the waiters, came over to our table and told us to be cool or they're going to kick us out. You see, it's not so much that the club was, upset about that. It was a liberal club, you know, open-minded. It wasn't that. It was that the police, you know, which made regular checks in these places, you know, all of Mexico, and even Tijuana, is a conservative place, you know, and it was an excellent opportunity for the police to, you know, suck out money, not only from us, but from the owners of the club for allowing it. And that's why the club, you know, hey, you can't have open showing of affection in a club. Finally, we had to leave. You know, I had to take the group, and I said, you know, we're having a good time, but Ariel just doesn't understand, man. Yeah, it's 2 times they come over and tell me, and he just keeps, you know, laying on me, hugging on me, you know, and I can't do that. I'm not going to jail, man. I'm not going to pay out more money I've already paid out. Another occasion occurred in the club known as the Noa Noa. The Noa Noa, the rumor is that the Noa Noa was owned by Juan Gabriel. Juan Gabriel being a famous Mexican singer. May he rest in peace. He's now passed on. Who was known as homosexual singer, and but very, very, very popular, excellent singer, one of the best in the world, really. And he had a club, I think, in Ciudad Juarez, called the Noa Noa, and I don't know if this club was owned by him or not, or just a copy, but the rumor was that he was the owner. But anyways, it was a dance club, and one time we were there, just me and Ariel, and we were drinking, and Ariel, again, he had a problem with his liquor, right? And so after a while, I could see he was getting a little too tipsy. When we were dancing on the dance floor, he again was getting like very sexual, you know, very scandalous, you know, in the way that he was dancing. They didn't say nothing to us. The crowd liked it. They're like, yeah, you know. But I felt embarrassed, you know, and I knew that this is not going to lead anywhere good. So, you know, we were sitting down. Ariel got up to go to the bathroom, and so the waiter came, and I said, look, give us another round. I'll take rum and Coke, but just Coke to him, no rum. You know, I don't know, maybe because I was drinking too, I was